Welcome back to FM Story and another in the series of rebuilds where we're trying to save clubs that have been relegated in real life this season. And for this one, we've gone to Germany with St. Pauli. St. Pauli are one of the most iconic clubs in world football, not because of trophies, but because of their identity. It's a club built on culture, community, rebellion, and a fiercely loyal fan base. But obviously, as we know in Football Manager, that won't win matches on its own. The squad's thin, the finances are tight, and obviously in real life, they've been relegated. Obviously, with all of these rebuilds we've done so far, the aim in Season 1 is to avoid relegation, and then over the next couple of seasons to solidify the position in top league, the Bundesliga in this case, and then hopefully towards the end of the 5 seasons, we can start pushing on for European places or even possibly a trophy. I think probably of the ones we've done so far, St. Pauli is going to be possibly the most difficult. So let's go and have a look at what we're letting ourselves into and see what the squad looks like at the beginning of Season 1. So here we are at the start of Season 1, and it looks like we don't have an awful lot of quality in there at the top end of the pitch. We might have to try and make ourselves solid and difficult to beat. Recruitment-wise, we got just over 1 million in the transfer budget and 24,000 in the wage budget. It might be enough to get us 1, maybe 2 players in. And the season preview has us finishing second bottom, which is what happened in real life, with only Heidenheim below us, which is again what happened in real life as well. It's going to be a tough task. But let's jump forward to the end of transfer window at the beginning of Season 1 and have a look at what we've been able to do to the squad. So we're at the end of the transfer window at the beginning of Season 1 and things have not exactly gone to plan. We've played 2 games, we've lost them both, and it's not the best start to the season that we could have hoped for. We are looking at a 4-4-2 going into a 4-2-3-1 when we don't have the ball, because our best players seem to be our defensive players and our central midfielders that can play in defensive midfield as well. We actually didn't manage to get anyone in. There was no one of any quality that would sign for us that we could afford to offer them a contract for. So we're sticking with the squad that we've got and hoping that we can somehow miraculously change things. We did get a victory in the first game, which was obviously the DFB Pokal game at the start of the season, made our way into the next round of that. We lost 2-0 at home to Dortmund and lost 1-0 away to Hamburg. So it's not like we've been blown away. And certainly in Dortmund's case, we've played a really good team. So it's a bit tough at this stage to see how we're going to do going into the rest of the first season. But the aim really, as long as we finish above the relegation places, it's a success for this season. Let's have a look and see how Season 1 pans out. And so, Season 1 has actually gone much, much better than we expected and than it was looking. We've somehow finished 9th and only just behind Dortmund and Leverkusen. So, although we picked up a win against Augsburg in the next game after we left off, things certainly didn't pick up particularly well. We lost 4-1 away at Stuttgart and 5-1 at home against Leverkusen. We did have a comfortable victory in November against Freiburg with having 10 men for over 80 minutes. We got hammered away at Bayern. December went reasonably well. And we've really kind of kicked on in the second half of the season. We got a good win in the quarterfinal of the DFB Pokal against Union Berlin. We've pushed on in the second half of the season. We even managed to beat Bayern at home in the league. We won 2-1 in the semi-final of the DFB Pokal away at Hoffenheim, thanks to an 89th minute penalty. And then we ended the season on fire, winning 3-1 at Mainz 2-1 away to Leipzig, 5-3 home to Wolfsburg, and then to cap the season off in the DFB Pokal final, Taichi Hara, who scored the winning penalty at the end of the semi-final, scored a late penalty to see us lift the DFB Pokal in season 1. And I genuinely don't know how that's happened. How we've taken that squad with no further recruitment and finished 9th and won the DFB Pokal, which means we're going to have European football in season 2, is mind-boggling. A slight concern is that we don't appear to have any transfer budget available going into season 2. We've got some room in the wage bill, but that is not a particularly good sign ahead of a European campaign. I mean, looking at the squad, I genuinely don't know how we've done it, because we've not had a player in double figures for goals or assists at all. I mean, we've only kept 9 clean sheets as well, so we've spread the goals around. That much is clear. It seems to be a bit of an anomaly of a season, and hopefully season 2 we can find some goals, and hopefully we can kick on from where we've ended season 1. So season 2's begun. Obviously it was impossible to do worse than the start of season 1. But we have picked up a victory before the summer transfer window this time round. Recruitment-wise, we did actually end up getting given a bit of a transfer budget. So we firstly went and signed Fabio Vieira from Arsenal for just under 10 million. Hopefully he can be someone who can unlock defences for us and create some chances for us. We've then also picked up on a free transfer Andrea Colpani, who can play off the right, can play in the number 10, and should be able to do a decent job for us, and has picked up 2 goals in the opening 4 games so far this season. We have slightly tweaked the formation. In the last season, we were playing with a 4-4-2 in possession and a 4-2-3-1 out of possession. We've changed that to be a 4-4-1-1 in possession, and just have Vieira sat in behind the front man at all times. We've started the season off with defeat in the Super Cup. We won the first round of the DFB Pokal and then picked up a 1-0 victory on the opening day of the season against Union Berlin, and then a disappointing defeat against Kaiserslautern with a 92nd minute goal for them to rob us of any points. We are obviously in the Europa League this season. We have been drawn in the league phase against Apoel, Anderlecht, Villarreal, Celtic, Jablonek, Panathinaikos, Feyenoord, and Young Boys. And realistically, those games could have probably been worse. So hopefully we're aiming for knockout stages at the absolute minimum. We do obviously have not the most strong, in-depth quality in the squad. So hopefully we don't run out of steam towards the end of the season. But with that said, let's have a look and see how season 2 unfolds. So, as far as the league's concerned, we've ended up finishing 12th. A couple of places down on last season, a few points down on last season, but we're still sort of within touching distance of Leverkusen, so that's a pretty good barometer of how we're doing. I mean, I can see immediately, just scrolling through the fixture list, that we've had some really good runs of form, like particularly October there, where we won 5 games in a row in all competitions, and then some bad runs of form looking at December, January with a 5-1 defeat away at Stuttgart, February with a 7-3 hammering away at Hoffenheim. March picked up a bit, and then we've kind of just faltered over the line in April and May. 1 win in the last 2 months of the season is a bit of a shocking performance. The league phase of the Europa League couldn't have gone much better. The only unbeaten team in the league phase, we won 7, drew 1, finished top of the pile, which obviously sees us jump straight into the last 16. We were drawn against Lech from Poland. We lost the home leg the first leg 2-0, won the home leg 4-0 to see us into the quarterfinal. Man United were just too strong for us. They would go on to the final to get beaten on penalties by Tottenham. Looking at the squad, one thing that we lacked last season was goals. That certainly wasn't the case this season, and you could tell by looking at the fixtures as we scrolled through them that whilst we'd scored more goals, we definitely conceded more goals as well. Martin Carr's top goal scorer with 31 in 51 games, which can't ask for much more than that. Obviously, we said when we were talking about Fabio Vieira coming in, we want him to unlock defences. He ended up with 20 assists as well as his own 15 goals. And Kolpani as well, 14 goals in 14 games. Really going into season 3, it's going to be about trying to surround those players with better quality to try and improve the overall quality of the team. And to that end, we've got just shy of 15 million in the transfer budget and a bit of room in the wage budget. It's going to be a tough task to try and improve the squad for that amount of money. But let's have a look and see how we get on at the start of season 3. So, season 3's begun, and we've managed to pick up 4 points from the opening 3 games up to the end of the transfer window. So, in the end, we've not actually spent that much money on transfer fees. We've spent more on wages, and we moved the money around to give us that. First signing was a free agent at the end of his contract, Hugo Guillamon. Coming in, can play centre-back, can play defensive midfield, and just hopefully gives us a bit more depth in that area of the pitch. We've then brought in Jakub Kaminski because basically he can play anywhere on the pitch and just gives us some overall depth in the squad. We were struggling a bit goalkeeper-wise, so we brought in Danny Martin for 1.4 million from Tenerife. Immediately comes in and becomes our number 1 goalkeeper. And then we've also brought in Beto to try and give us a bit more quality at the top end of the pitch as well, after his contract with Everton ended. And he's scored 3 goals and got 2 assists in his opening 4 games, so hopefully he can carry on that form. Now, we started with a victory in the DFB Pokal. We managed to pick up a draw at home against Bayern, having been 2-0 down at half-time, which was a good start to the season. We've then gone away and hammered Union Berlin 4-0, but then a really disappointing result at home against Borussia Mönchengladbach. So hopefully we can have more like the first 2 games of the season, or less like the third game as we go on. Obviously, no European football this season, so minimal games compared to last season. Hopefully that should suit the depth of the squad. And let's have a look and see how we get on in season 3. And we have to say, season 3, not brilliant. We've slipped further down the table. Having finished 9th in season 1, 12th in season 2, we've now finished 14th in season 3. Only 34 points as well. We have not had a very good season at all. I mean, immediately after we left off, the bad form did continue from that Mönchengladbach game. We lost to Leverkusen, Frankfurt, Dortmund, Stuttgart, Leipzig. We lost to Magdeburg in the DFB Pokal. We got hammered by Hertha Berlin. We lost to Freiburg. We lost to Cologne. We then had a pretty decent run through November, December, and January. And then we didn't win another game until April. And then only one more game before the end of the season, on the very last day of the season. So we have certainly not improved this season. We've gone backwards, and we're going to need a bit of a rethink going forward. We're back to struggling to score goals. Beto only won in double figures with 16. Vieira just obviously hasn't created as much chances as well, because he's only ended up with 4 assists compared to last season's 20. Kolpani still in double figures for 4 assists, but we need a complete rethink ahead of season 4. And we've got a little bit of money available in the transfer and wage budgets, but not enough to do full-scale changes. Season 4 has begun as season 3 ended. We've lost all 3 of our opening league games up to the end of the transfer window, and things are not looking very promising. Recruitment-wise, it is basically a load of free transfers. We did actually do a deal in January of season 3 to bring in Joe Willock on a free transfer. But then everything in the summer between season 3 and season 4 was free transfers as well. Starting with Przemysław Frankowski, really we're looking at potentially playing the back 3 with wing backs, and he can play right or left wing back. Gives us a bit of depth on both sides of the pitch. Obviously experience, so the physicals are a bit of a problem as well. We've then brought in Nahuel Pereira, 23-year-old Uruguayan international centre-half. Can do a job for us and hopefully will be one of the better players this season, but everyone obviously needs to step up given the start of the season we've had. We've then brought in Enes Ünal after his contract with Bournemouth ended to try and find someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, but things haven't started well there. Another centre-half come in, Ikuma Sekigawa, at the end of his contract. Again, and a bit of an improvement on what we had, and hopefully once everyone gels, going to be a big part of this team going forward. We've then brought in Onuche Ogbelu, who was out of contract as well. We also brought him in the Vukovar save in the last rebuild, and his mentals and physicals are a big boost for us. We just need to get him into the team, really, to see if he can produce what he did for us at Vukovar. And then we've also brought in Thiago Jallo, who can play centre-half and play right-back or left-back, just to give us a bit of depth there as well. And so obviously the season has not started well. We had a comfortable victory in the first round of the DFB Pokal, but then we've lost 3-1 against Freiburg, 4-0 at home against Dortmund, and 4-1 at home against Bayern. Now obviously we've played Bayern and Dortmund, so that skews things a bit, but we've conceded 11 goals in 3 games, and that's obviously a big warning sign ahead of the rest of season 4. We need to be much, much better. So let's go ahead to the end of season 4 and see if we've somehow managed to stay in the Bundesliga. And we have actually somehow survived. We've ended up finishing 13th. Same number of points as we had last season. So we have survived in the league. We had the odd victory early on. 6-3 victory at home against Hoffenheim. 2-1 victory away at Paderborn. But our exit in the second round of the DFB Pokal sums up our form in the first half of the season. It was just abysmal. November came around and we managed to avoid losing in the league in November. Then we had a bit of a downturn of form December and January again. Picked it up with 3 back-to-back victories at the beginning of February. And then collapsed again before picking up another couple of victories before the end of the season. And somehow that was all enough for us to finish 13th in the league. Looking at the squad, we've certainly struggled at the top end of the pitch. I mean, Enes Ünal got 6 goals in 35 games. Beto got 4 in the whole season. Ars, who got 31 in season 2, just couldn't get a game in season 4. Fabio Vieira, top scoring with 13, tells you where we really have struggled at the top end of the pitch. Kolpani with 12 and Kaminski picked up 11. But it is going to be a tough task. There's a lot of players leaving the club at the end of this season, and it's going to be a big rebuild into season 5, and we don't have an awful lot of money to do it, so it's going to have to be a lot of free transfers again, I think. But let's have a look and see what we can do ahead season 5. Season 5 has seen our best start to the season so far in the 5 seasons. We've picked up 2 wins from 2 ahead of the end of the summer transfer window. And we've brought in a lot of players, all of them on frees. Firstly, Petr Stanic coming in at the end of his contract with Ludogorets. Benedikt Lobach coming in at the end of his contract as well. Gives us a bit of quality in terms of like the physicals and the mentals. Like his technicals aren't great, but he's someone that we can have as a leader at the club. We've then brought in Dan Ballard to try and shore up the defence. Roland Shalai, because we're looking to play with that right wing back pushed forward. Experienced on the back end of his career, but hopefully can do a job for us. Felix Correa's come in. He can play off the wing, behind the front man. We're going to try him, when you see the formation we've gone for, in a bit of a funky position. We've brought in Gaetano Orestano as well, who can have the quality at the top end of the pitch. He's scored 2 goals in the opening 3 games for us, so he's immediately hit the ground running. And then we've also brought in Uriel Antuna, another player that can play wide, can play through the middle, and hopefully adds a bit more quality in that area of the pitch. Now, what we're looking to do with the formation in possession, we've effectively got 3 up top. I mean, Correa, we're dropping off into a sort of a number 10-ish role, and then out of possession, they're going to split out to wide and have a 5 at the back, and hopefully that'll make us secure while still having enough of a threat at the top end of the pitch. And as far as the season's started well. We've not played any of the big clubs yet, though, so we've been able to get off to a better start than we did last season. We won 3-0 in the first round of the DFB Pokal. We've beaten Nuremberg away from home, and we've beaten Hoffenheim at home, which, considering one of the games last season, they beat us 7-3. That's a bit of an improvement. So let's go ahead and see how we do in this final season. Can we push for upper mid-table, even maybe sneak into a European spot? Let's find out. And there we are. We finished in 8th, almost sneaking into the European spots, 1 place outside of it. Again, it's Leverkusen that are just above us. They've snuck into the Conference League ahead of us. And we continued our decent start to the season, including a 3-0 victory at home against Leipzig. But then things turned November time. We didn't get the best of runs there, although we did pick up a 6-2 victory at home against Union Berlin. January wasn't too bad, but then from February onwards, we didn't have the best of runs. We lost 5 in a row, then drew 4 out of the next 5. But overall, not too bad a season. Again, we still struggled for goals. Antuna top scoring with 13, Orestano with 13 as well. Correa picked up 10 assists from that number 10 role. And Fabio Vieira didn't have the best of seasons. An interesting season. I think that there's a couple of spells in the season where, like, especially that spell of 4 draws in 5 games, if we'd won 1 of them, we'd have been level on points with Leverkusen. If we'd won 2 of them, we'd have been in European spots. And there we are, the end of 5 seasons with St. Pauli, and I think by and large we've achieved what we set out to do. We kept them in the Bundesliga for all 5 seasons. We weren't really, apart from season 4, in any danger of going down. We did almost nick European football at the end of season 5. But we did have European football during the save, courtesy of that DFB Pokal victory in season 1. Join us next time for another rebuild save where we try and save one of this year's relegated teams from the drop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.